Hello dear viewers watching us live from the RTD for the English News Edition. The top stories. The head of state has this morning chaired the work of the 250th meeting of the Council of Ministers. In West Africa, Liberians vote on Tuesday to elect their new president. Under the leadership of the President of the Republic, His Excellency Ismail Omar Guelleh, the 25th session of the Ministers' Council took place at the Presidential Palace this morning. Several bills have been adopted and approved. The rest in this video.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Sous la présidence du chef de l'État, Son Excellence M. Ismail Omar Guelleh, s'est tenue la 25e séance du Conseil des ministres.
This morning, the 25th Minister Council has been held under the chairmanship of the Head of State, His Excellency Ismail Omar Guelleh. The following bills have been on the agenda. The first question concerned a law amending and supplementing the Labor Code of 2006. The revision of the Labor Code dating from 2006 proved necessary in order to correct the incoherence raised, in particular the provision relating to the renewal of the fixed-term contract, the length of an absence of a co-worker due to illness, and the trade union representation in companies employing at least 11 employees. Other amendments are proposed to comply with the International Labour Convention that the Republic of Djibouti has ratified. Among other things, it aimed to guarantee minors who have reached the minimum age of access to the labour market to exercise their trade union rights without the authorization of their parents. By the way, the most important change of the Labour Code is the reintroduction of the minimum wage, which is 35,000 Djiboutian francs. The Labour Code has been supplemented by provision relating to sexual harassment at work, which has become a real offense. The second question is a drafted decree defining the conditions of activities of private employment agencies. It has been recently noted that a growing number of private employment agencies are not respecting the labor legislation, particularly the working conditions of temporary employees. This has resulted in labor dispute arising from detrimental wage gap for temporary workers who would not receive the same benefits for valuable work as permanent workers in the user enterprise. The third question is related to a drafted decree in appointing technical advisors. Ms. Fariha Jama Ibrahim, Mr. Mahmoud Hassan Saeed, Mr. Abdullahi Hassan Hussein are appointed technical advisors to the Justice Minister. Mr. Muhammad Isa Sultan is appointed technical advisor to the Budget Minister. Mr. Ismail Osman Farah is appointed technical advisor to the Decentralization Minister. The fourth question concerned a drafted decree appointing official of the State Secretariat for Social Affairs. Mr. Awal Khadar Aden Barsama is appointed Administrative and Financial Director by replacing Ms. Khadija Ali Hassan. Ms. Khadija Ali Hassan is appointed Technical Advisor to the State Secretariat for Social Affairs. Mr. Jabah Benoit Frimos is appointed Technical Advisor to the State Secretariat. Mrs. Fatouma Ahmed Barsama is appointed Director of Social Affairs. Mr. Ismail Hassan Tukale is appointed Director of Planification and Monitoring of the International Cooperation. Ms. Muna Ahmed Rag is appointed Director of Studies and Prospecting. The fifth question concerned a drafted decree amending decree on the creation of the National Coordination Committee for the Care of Orphans and Vulnerable Children. This committee aims to harmonize and coordinate the effort of the state, NGO and civil society associations to provide integrated care for the basic need of orphan and vulnerable children. This committee is responsible for providing a global multi-sectoral and community response adapted to the national context. It aimed to combat the vulnerability factors identified at the natural level and thus significantly improve the living conditions of orphans and vulnerable children. This amended decree is based on an integrated care approach.
The second part of this report occurred the approved missions made by the members of the government. Let's listen to this comment.
La sixième question concerne un projet
The question 6 concerns a draft law approving the budget of the People's Palace for 2018, which is equivalent to 392 million francs Djibouti. The question 7 is related to a draft ordered approving and making executory the Djibouti Economy Development Budget Fund that is estimated to 511 million francs Djibouti. The fund is finance activities are carrying out by the credit line provided by donors to civilians with business investment projects. The question 8 is related to a draft decision approving the budget for 2018 of the National Tourism Office of Djibouti. The budget of the National Tourism of Djibouti is equivalent to 187 million francs Djibouti. The question 9 is a draft decree approving the budget of Al-Hajj Hassan Guled Abtidon Stad, which is worth to 187 million francs Djibouti. The question 10 is a draft decree appointing officials to the State Secretary for the Youth and Sport. Ms. Khadija Ibrahim Idris is appointing the Administrator Director. Mr. Abshir Ali Hassan is appointing the Sport Director. The Prime Minister reports on his participation in the extraordinary summit of the member state of the Organization of the Islamic Cooperation on Palestine and the city of Al-Ghaza, held on December 13, 2017 in Istanbul. The Minister of Foreign Affairs reports on the state visit to Turkey of the President of the Republic from 19 to 20 December 2017. He is also reporting on his participation in the extraordinary meeting of the League of Arab States on the 59th Extraordinary Summit of the IGAD of the Ministers on the Situation in South Sudan, held on December 9, 2017 in Cairo, and on December 17, 2017 in Addis Ababa. The Minister of Economy and Finance gave an account to the visit of the Managing Director of the IMF in Djibouti on December 16 and 17, 2017. The Minister of Defense announced his participation to the inauguration ceremony of the President of Somaliland, held in 13 December 2017 in Hargeisa. The delegate minister in charge of the decentralization reports his participation in the 4th Conference of African Ministers in charge of registration of vital events, which took place from 7 to 8 December 2017 in Nakoch.
Following the important meeting on the administrative reform that took place yesterday morning at the Prime Minister's office, Abdul Qadir Kamil Mohammed, the Minister of Labour made a statement in which he said that building an administration that listens and reaches out to the citizens was above all a political will of the head of state. The project to launch the second phase of the regional league continues to punctuate life in the regions. After the region of Dakhil and Ali Sabeh, the Secretary of State for Youth and Sports Hassan Mohammed Kamil, along with the Prefect of the region, proceeded to the launching of the second phase of regional league of the sports at the large field of Arta, the youngest and beautiful region. The objective of the event is at first glance to encourage young people to make good decisions, instilling them patriotic values that will allow them to fight against trends of juvenile delinquency, but also the thrills of the pursuit to launch a series of 3-kilometer races to detect talents, young athletes in athletics to better shape the skeleton of the future selection of the national team of athletics. And let's recall that the day of yesterday, as planned by the organizer, 50 teams of all disciplines, football, handball, basketball, volleyball, petanque, and not forgetting the archery and categories, they paraded under the watch of the State Secretary for Youth and Sports and his main collaborators on the track of the large sports field of Arta. The prefect of the region has congratulated the State Secretary of Youth and Sports for coming to Arta to kick off the second phase of regional sports leagues. At the same time, he thanked the State Secretary of Youth and Sports for its support to promoting sports in the region. He reminded the end of the competitions of the previous regional league with success in a period of a month and a half. As for the Secretary of State for Youth and Sports said he was delighted by the massive participation of youth of Arta to give sparkle and meaning to this event that challenges them and animates them. He also took the opportunity to inform young people of the launch of the national dialogue between Djiboutian youth and the head of state at the end of January, an event during which young people can describe the challenges they face in the future, promotion and development of our country, as well as in the quest for their fulfillment, but also to speak from their visions and ambitions in order to contribute and to qualify what they expect from the government, he said, but also how their side can advance the things for a brighter future. Continuing with the national news, the relief of the Hill 3 Battalion began at the beginning of this month of December. The force elements of the relief battalion, the Hill Battalion, departed in accordance with the arrivals of the Hill Battalion. Lieutenant General Zakaria Sheikh Ibrahim went to the airport tarmac to give a last piece of advice to the troops leaving for Beledweyne. Lieutenant General Zakaria Sheikh Ibrahim, Chief of the General Staff of the Armed Forces, was received by Lieutenant Colonel Abdurrahman Riali, Commander Hill 5 Battalion. And thus, the soldiers of the battalion Hill 5 flew to the city of Beledweyne in planes chartered by the United Nations. The arrival of the force elements of the Hill 3 Battalion was welcomed by a staff delegation such as Colonel Mohammed Kayat Gelle, Colonel of Logistic Division, and Colonel Mohammed Ibrahim Mohammed, Director of Human Resources, and Lieutenant Colonel Chief of Staff Colonel Wagdi Chama Musa. A health and administrative visit took place on site by the respective services, and returning military personnel from the Somali region of Hiran expressed their feelings after 2 years spent outside their country. And let me take you to Egypt now. Mr. Abdurrahman Ali Abdallah, Director of the airline Air Djibouti, a member of the delegation of Air Djibouti, were received yesterday by Sharif Fatih, Egyptian Minister of Civil Aviation, in the presence of Mr. Mohammed Duhur Hersi, Ambassador of the Republic of Djibouti in Egypt, in Hania Al-Dawai, President of the Authority of Civil Aviation, and Mr. Safwat Mesalam, CEO of the Egypt Air. The debate focused on study of the forthcoming launch of flights to and from Cairo provided by Air Djibouti and ways of cooperation between Air Djibouti and Egypt Air. Before this meeting, the Djiboutian delegation visited the offices of Egypt Air, which consists of 9 groups, including Egypt Air for maintenance and technical work, the Egypt Air Training Academy, and Egypt Air Services. The Minister of Muslim Affairs and Culture has today hosted a workshop at the Hotel Acacia to strengthen the capacity of members of the National Network of Faith, Shamiqat. This workshop was held in the presence of the head of the Programming Project Department of the Minister. This 4-day workshop was led by the network expert for the fight against female circumcision for Dr. Mohammed Hashim Hakim. This workshop aims to enhance the capacity of network members. More than 4 imams and preachers have benefited from this workshop, among the 30 in the capital and 10 in the region of the interior. And let's not forget that this workshop will end on Thursday, December 28th. And to close up this edition with on the news outside our borders, Liberians chose a new leader on Tuesday in an runoff between Vice President Joseph Boakai and footballing icon George Weah, a vote that will mark the country's first democratic transition since 1944. After 7 weeks of delays caused by legal complaints lodged by Boakai's ruling Unity Party against the country's electoral commission, polling stations are due to open at 8 a.m. and close to 6 p.m. for Liberia's 2.1 million registered voters, whereas the Coalition for Democratic Change has urged voters not to drink too much on Christmas and to get up early on the 26th to cast their ballots in what National Elections Commission Chairman Francis Corboy has said is one sacrifice for the good of our democracy and country. They will choose a successor to President Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, who is due to step down in January after 12 years at the helm of the West African nation, resurrecting it from the ashes of civil war in 1989-2003 and overseeing the response to the Ebola crisis. And this here we close the national news. Have a good night.